spoken in a calm, steady, meditative tone. Welcome to Void Realities, the place where restless minds can wander and sleepless hours become a journey into wonder. Tonight you will drift through shadows and silence, where deep beneath the earth nuclear silos rest in stillness, and far above, mysterious lights cross the night sky. What connects these two worlds? The hidden power of atoms and the unexplained presence of UFOs. Is it coincidence? Or is there meaning waiting in the silence? Breathe slowly. Settle your body into rest and let the story unfold as we explore the truth about UFOs and nuclear bases. The truth about UFOs and nuclear bases. You find yourself standing in the middle of a plain. The land is wide, flat and hushed, broken only by the faint sound of wind pressing through dry grass. On the surface, everything seems ordinary, almost lifeless. But below your feet, hidden in the soil, lie great chambers carved by human hands. These are silos, vaults where missiles rest, silent, cold, and waiting. They are designed never to be used, yet their very presence shapes the way humanity thinks about danger and survival. The silence here feels heavy, not because nothing is happening, but because something enormous lies dormant, concealed. It is a silence that contains potential, a pause that could turn into unimaginable noise. This duality, the quiet above and the power below, mirrors the way your own mind holds stillness and storms at once. When you close your eyes, you can picture the silos, long cylinders stretching downward like wells with no water. Inside them, technology built to command destruction waits in the dark. These machines are not alive, yet they hum with the weight of human intention. They embody both fear and protection, both threat and deterrence. And so, they stand, century after century, shaping history not by what they do, but by what they keep from happening. Above them, the sky stretches vast and unbroken. On some nights, it glows with stars so sharp and countless that it feels endless. But for those who guard these bases, the sky sometimes reveals things that cannot be explained. Strange lights drift, hover, and vanish. Shapes flicker and then dissolve into darkness. Reports whisper of objects defying gravity, lingering silently above the very places where nuclear fire sleeps. You wonder what it must feel like to witness such a sight. Standing watch at midnight, surrounded by silence, only to notice something shimmering where nothing should be. Does the heart race with fear, or does awe soften the edges of terror? Perhaps both. Perhaps wonder and dread are always woven together, like night and day, each giving shape to the other. It is here, at the meeting of earth and sky, that two forms of mystery collide. Below, the mystery of human power, the ability to split atoms, to hold the raw force of the universe in metal containers. Above, the mystery of the cosmos, the unknown visitors, or illusions or natural phenomena that leave no answers behind. Together, they create a place where silence grows thick, carrying both the burden of secrecy and the thrill of the unknown. You breathe into this thought slowly, like filling your chest with cool air. Nuclear bases are symbols of control, but the lights in the sky remind us of everything we do not control. They are reminders that human mastery, no matter how immense, is small against the canvas of the universe. The silos are deep, but the heavens are deeper. The weapons are powerful, but space itself carries powers we barely understand. Your mind drifts between these two poles, the certainty of what lies beneath and the uncertainty of what floats above. One is anchored, designed, measured. The other is fleeting, ungraspable, and filled with rumor. Yet both hold a mirror to the same truth. The world you live in is both fragile and vast, both ordered and unexplainable. As you rest in this thought, you sense that silence is not empty at all. It is alive, layered, and carrying its own weight. The silence above the plains holds the echo of wings, the possibility of eyes watching from beyond the stars. The silence below the soil holds the weight of decisions, of fear, of the unspoken responsibility humanity carries. Between them you stand, a witness to two mysteries that do not resolve but instead stretch open wider and wider. The wind brushes across your skin. It is neither warm nor cold, only steady, as if reminding you to keep breathing. You feel the ground beneath you, steady and solid, and you sense the sky above, endless and light. The world, in this moment, is both grounded and unbound, both heavy and infinite. And as your thoughts soften, a new question begins to form as gentle as a whisper. If the sky itself holds such unexplainable lights, what does it mean when they appear above places where the deepest human secrets sleep? You linger on this thought, the silence above and the silence below, and wonder what happens when the sky itself begins to glow with lights that should not be there. The night sky above a military base is often thought of as ordinary, just darkness, stars, and the hum of machines below. Yet for those who stand guard, watching both ground and sky, the ordinary sometimes slips into something else. It begins quietly, without sound, without warning. A glow appears on the horizon, faint at first, then brighter, like a lantern rising in slow motion. And in that moment, the air feels different, charged with a kind of awareness you can almost touch. You picture yourself there, boots pressing against gravel, breath clouding faintly in the cool air. You lean back to scan the horizon, expecting only stars. Instead, you notice a light moving in ways that stars do not. It hovers, then drifts, then stops completely, as if holding its breath. Your own body feels caught between disbelief and recognition. You know what planes look like, what satellites do, what planets can be mistaken for, but this light does not fit. On radar screens inside dimly lit rooms, the same story unfolds. A blip appears where no known craft should be. It moves too fast, then too slow, its pattern inconsistent with the flight of anything designed by human hands. The operators, trained to see order in noise, are left with questions instead of answers. Was it interference, a trick of weather? Or is the screen telling the truth of something that should not exist? Scientists often explain such reports as atmospheric phenomena. The sky itself can bend light, refract stars, or reflect ground lights in strange, shifting ways. Temperature layers in the air act like invisible mirrors, creating illusions that dance without source. Even meteors, burning quickly across the atmosphere, can trick the eyes into believing something far stranger is taking place. And yet, the witnesses, soldiers, pilots, technicians, often describe details too sharp to dismiss. The lights hover low, casting faint glows on the ground. They change direction without inertia, as if the rules of physics bow differently to them. They vanish in silence, leaving behind only memory, uncertainty, and a pulse of unease in those who watch. You let yourself linger with that unease. There is something profoundly human about seeing a light where none should be. It awakens questions older than science itself. What is watching? Why here? Why now? Is the light outside you, or could it be a projection of the mind under stress? Long nights, heavy responsibility, and the isolation of guard posts can blur the edges of perception. Under such conditions, the human mind sometimes paints pictures onto the sky. But what makes these stories compelling is not only the strangeness of the lights, but their setting. They appear not over forests or oceans, but over places built to house the most destructive weapons on Earth. Their presence feels deliberate, as though drawn to humanity's most guarded secrets. The coincidence presses softly into your thoughts. Could the lights know? Or is it simply that where secrecy gathers, attention naturally follows? You breathe slowly, as though inhaling the stillness of the plains and exhaling into the vastness of the sky. In that breath, you recognize that the lights do not offer answers. Instead, they offer reflections, mirrors that show humanity its own fears and fascinations. Whether they are physical objects, illusions of light, or tricks of perception, they remind us of how little control we have over mystery. As your body settles, you begin to feel the rhythm of this truth. Mystery does not need to be solved to have meaning. The lights matter not only because of what they are, but because of what they stir inside you. Curiosity, awe, and the quiet recognition of limits. They remind you that even with silos buried deep and instruments reaching far, the universe still holds spaces we cannot measure. You gaze once more into the imagined night, the strange glow hovering just beyond certainty. It pulses softly, neither threatening nor comforting, just there. And in its presence, you realize that questions themselves can be a kind of light, guiding your mind into places beyond reason. And as you rest with the image of these hovering lights, you begin to wonder about another form of invisible force, one that hides not in the sky, but within the very atoms of matter itself. You sit quietly and imagine the inside of an atom. It is so small that no eye can see it, yet inside, a hidden universe hums with energy. Protons and neutrons cling together in the nucleus, held fast by the strongest force known in nature. Around them, electrons drift like faint shadows, creating the outer edges of matter. For most of history, no one suspected that this tiny structure held such immense power. Then, in the 20th century, humans learned to split the atom. With delicate precision, they struck the nucleus and broke it apart. In that fracture, an avalanche of energy escaped. Heat, light, and radiation. A chain reaction began, each broken nucleus stirring another to break, like dominoes falling in silent succession. From this discovery came nuclear reactors, machines that harnessed the invisible fire of the atom to make electricity. And from it also came weapons, where that same fire was sharpened into unimaginable destruction. Radiation is what travels outward when atoms split. The word itself often carries fear, as though radiation is always harmful, always deadly. But radiation simply means energy in motion, moving like ripples across a pond. There are many forms. Some are soft and harmless, like the warmth of sunlight on your skin. Others are stronger, able to slip into the body and alter its most delicate instructions. DNA written deep in every cell. You feel the paradox. Radiation is both giver and taker. Without the sun's rays, life would not exist. Plants lean toward the light. Animals depend on warmth, and your own body carries rhythms tuned to daylight. Yet the same rays can burn, age, and even cause sickness if they arrive in excess. It is as if the universe whispers through radiation, offering both nourishment and warning in the same breath. Inside reactors, radiation is tamed. The fission of atoms releases heat, which boils water, which spins turbines, which creates electricity. The process is elegant in its simplicity, tiny particles breaking apart to light entire cities. When you turn on a lamp, you rarely think about the chain of events that began inside a reactor core, deep within fuel rods where uranium atoms quietly split apart. The light above your head is connected to the silent fractures of matter below the surface. But radiation does not stop at the machine. It travels outward, invisible and intangible, yet leaving traces in the human body. Cells are resilient, always repairing themselves, always adapting. But too much radiation overwhelms their defenses. It can break DNA, cause mutations, and unravel the threads that keep life in balance. You think of it as a kind of invisible weather, sometimes soft as sunlight, sometimes storming with unseen force. The body itself gives off radiation too. Small amounts of potassium-40, an isotope within your muscles, emit tiny bursts of energy. You glow, faintly and invisibly, from the inside out. In this way, radiation is not only something that comes from reactors or stars, but something woven into your very being. What you fear is also a part of you. The connection between radiation and the mind is quieter but just as profound. Exposure shapes not only health but also imagination. People living near reactors or under the shadow of weapons often describe a background hum of unease, even when measurements say they are safe. The knowledge itself, that invisible rays may be present, creates a weight on the spirit. Fear becomes its own form of radiation, seeping quietly into thought. And then there are the stories from bases where strange lights appear. Witnesses sometimes describe sudden equipment failures, strange readings, even disruptions in power. Some link these occurrences to radiation, as though the lights in the sky carry their own invisible weather, pressing into human machines and bodies alike. Whether true or not, the association lingers. Radiation, mystery, and the unknown all travel together in human thought. You let yourself rest in this paradox. Radiation is danger, yet it is also life. It is destruction, yet it is also energy that warms your home, grows your food, and guides the body's rhythms. Like the silos in the skies, it is both shadow and light, both silent and powerful. And as you drift deeper into thought, you notice how this invisible force connects you to the cosmos. The atoms in your body were forged in ancient stars, where radiation streamed outward for billions of years. You are made of matter that once glowed in stellar furnaces, matter that still hums faintly with invisible light. And as you rest with the awareness of this hidden energy flowing through both machines and flesh, you begin to wonder not only about atoms, but about the minds that witness strange things when the world grows dark. You sit in the quiet of night and imagine what it means to see. Light enters the eye, bends through the lens, and falls upon the delicate sheet of the retina. Nerves carry the signal, sending patterns into your brain. But what you see is never just light. It is shaped by memory, expectation, and emotion. Vision is not a window, it is a painting, drawn fresh each moment by the mind. This is why two people can look at the same sky and describe it differently. One may see a star, the other a moving craft. One may notice only darkness, while the other sees shapes emerging from the shadows. What the eye gathers is only half of vision. The rest comes from within, from your beliefs, your fears, your hopes. The unknown is always painted with colors drawn from your inner world. Consider the guards who stand long hours at nuclear bases. Fatigue presses on them, the silence stretching wide. In such stillness, the smallest flicker in the sky carries weight. Stress heightens attention. The body becomes alert, waiting for threats. Under this pressure, perception sharpens but also distorts. A light that drifts might seem to hover. A plane at distance may appear as a sphere of glowing fire. What is seen is filtered through the pulse of adrenaline. Psychologists call this expectancy. The mind tends to find what it prepares itself to find. If you are told that strange lights haunt the skies, your eyes will search for them. If you believe danger hovers nearby, your brain will highlight any clue that fits. This is not weakness, it is survival. The mind errs on the side of caution. Better to see a phantom threat than to miss a real one. And yet, these experiences feel undeniably real. The trembling in the chest, the sharp clarity of detail, the conviction that something was truly there. For those who witness, the memory carries weight equal to any physical evidence. Testimony becomes its own kind of reality, shaping stories, shaping belief. When many voices echo the same description, the unknown begins to feel solid, even if no machine ever records it. You let yourself soften into this paradox. To see is not always to measure. To see is to feel. The mind weaves perception and emotion into one seamless cloth. You cannot pull them apart without unraveling the whole. There is also the question of fear. In the dark, fear amplifies perception. The rustle of leaves becomes footsteps, the flicker of a star becomes a hovering craft. Fear narrows attention, focusing only on the possible threat. At the same time, awe opens the senses, inviting you to see more than usual. These two, fear and awe, often arrive together when the unknown fills the sky. Researchers have studied how stress reshapes memory. Under high arousal, details may feel sharper, but accuracy falters. A person swears they saw a metallic disc, when in fact it was a bright planet rising low on the horizon. Another insists a craft moved silently above, when the mind stitched fragments of clouds and lights into a coherent shape. The brain is always constructing, always filling gaps. And yet, dismissing such experiences misses their meaning. Even if the light is misperceived, the experience itself is true. The trembling hands, the rush of heartbeat, the sense of standing before something vast, these are real human truths. They tell us not only about the sky, but about ourselves. The unknown becomes a mirror, reflecting the ways in which we reach beyond certainty. You pause, breathing into this awareness. The psychology of witnessing is not about proving or disproving, but about listening to the fragile line between perception and imagination. You realize that every mysterious story carries two layers, one written in the sky and one written in the human mind. And as you drift deeper into this thought, you begin to wonder about silence itself. The silence of governments, of secrets, of the world choosing not to speak even when the skies seem alive. You imagine a room buried deep beneath the earth, a room without windows, lit by the pale hum of fluorescent lamps. Within it, files are kept, reports stacked in metal drawers, guarded by locked doors and layers of clearance. These are places where knowledge does not circulate freely. Here, silence is not emptiness, but control. Silence becomes a tool. What is not said is as important as what is spoken. For decades, stories about unidentified lights near nuclear bases have been written, whispered, and recorded. Yet official voices often respond with absence. Reports are dismissed as illusions, explained away as natural phenomena, or left unacknowledged. In this way, silence becomes its own language, shaping belief through what it withholds. You pause to consider how silence feels in your own body. When someone avoids an answer, your mind does not rest. It begins to weave possibilities. What is hidden must matter, you think. What is denied must carry weight. The same is true of governments and their secrecy. The refusal to explain fuels imagination more than any admission would. Nuclear bases embody this paradox. They exist to deter, to be visible in power, yet invisible in detail. Their locations are known, yet their workings are hidden. The missiles sleep in plain sight, but their inner mechanisms remain shrouded. The same is true of encounters in the skies above them. When lights hover where they should not, the event enters the world of rumor rather than record. The result is a silence that grows heavy. Scientists may ask for data, witnesses may offer testimony. But without confirmation, the conversation drifts in a space between fact and possibility. Silence is not neutral. It leans into uncertainty, pressing minds to imagine what is not given. You breathe slowly, noticing how secrecy itself resembles gravity. It pulls everything toward its center, bending the flow of conversation, curving thought into speculation. In physics, black holes do this, concealing their contents, yet making their presence undeniable by the way they distort space around them. Secrets function in much the same way. You cannot see what lies inside, but you feel the pull. This gravity of silence is especially strong when paired with nuclear power. Nuclear energy, nuclear weapons, these are subjects already wrapped in caution, already tied to fear. To add mystery to them is to thicken the air with tension. Lights in the sky become not just curiosities, but omens, reflections of our deepest anxieties. If the unknown hovers near the world's most dangerous weapons, The meaning feels amplified, even if the truth is far more ordinary. And yet, there is also another kind of silence, the silence of the cosmos itself. For all the stories of strange lights and visitors, the universe remains largely quiet. Radio telescopes listen across vast distances, searching for signals that never come. Stars burn silently, galaxies turn without word. This cosmic silence presses against the human mind, inviting the question, are we truly alone? It is here that the two silences meet, the silence of governments and the silence of the universe. One is chosen, deliberate, and heavy with intention. The other is natural, vast, and perhaps eternal. Both leave you waiting, listening for answers that never arrive. Both stir in you a recognition that not all truths are offered easily. As you rest in this awareness, you feel how silence itself shapes your thoughts. It is not absence but presence, not emptiness but weight. Every unanswered question lingers, like a note sustained long after the instrument has stopped playing. You begin to sense that silence is not the opposite of truth, but another form of it. Perhaps silence is the way the world reminds you to keep wondering. Perhaps it is the way mystery preserves its place in human life. Without silence, there would be no room for curiosity, no space for awe. The unspoken keeps your imagination alive, inviting you to dream beyond certainty. You close your eyes and drift into that dreamlike state. Around you, both kinds of silence hum, the human silence of withheld words and the cosmic silence of endless space. Together, they form a lullaby of absence, a song without sound that still carries meaning. And in that quiet, you begin to sense that the question is no longer about secrets alone, but about meaning itself. What mystery offers the human heart when no answer ever comes? You return in your mind to the open plain. The grass sways softly, the horizon stretches endlessly, and the silos remain buried beneath the earth, holding their quiet weight. Above, the sky arcs wide, filled with stars that seem both close and unreachable. Nothing moves but the wind, and yet you feel surrounded by stories, by the countless whispers people have shared about what they saw here. The lights that hover, the silence that deepens, the secrets that linger, all of these are threads woven into the same fabric. Yet when you step back, you notice the pattern is not only about the sky, it is about humanity itself. Mystery reveals not just the unknown out there, but the longing within you to find meaning, to place yourself within something larger than your own life. Science explains much of the world. It tells you how atoms split, how light bends, how perception can be shaped by fear. But even as answers arrive, questions persist. Why do certain places, nuclear bases, ancient sites, lonely deserts, draw the most mysterious stories? Why do people return again and again to the unknown, even when explanations are offered? Perhaps because the unknown is not meant to vanish, but to remain, like a horizon that always recedes no matter how far you walk. You take a slow breath and imagine what it means to live with mystery, to live without closure, without proof, without resolution. At first, it feels unsettling, like an itch that cannot be scratched. But over time, mystery becomes softer, almost like a companion. It is the reminder that the universe is not yet finished in its telling, that more exists beyond the reach of certainty. Psychologists suggest that humans are pattern-seeking beings. The brain is wired to connect dots, to fill gaps, to create stories. When faced with silence, you write narratives. When confronted with strange lights, you imagine intentions. This is not a flaw. It is the way meaning is built. You do not simply see the world. You shape it, weaving understanding from both fact and wonder. Perhaps, then, the truth about UFOs and nuclear bases lies not only in classified reports or cosmic visitors, but in the human need to frame danger with mystery, to soften fear with awe. The silos below represent what we can control, the weapons built by human hands. The lights above represent what we cannot control, the vastness beyond our grasp. Together, they form a mirror, reflecting the fragile balance of your own life, between certainty and uncertainty, between safety and vulnerability. As you rest deeper into this thought, you feel the rhythm of the world. Silence rising, silence falling, mystery drifting in like a tide. You notice that not every story needs an answer to bring peace. Some stories offer peace precisely because they remain open, inviting you to surrender to wonder rather than conclusion. The night sky above is unchanged. Stars shimmer, planets drift in their ancient courses, and perhaps, far away, civilizations exist that will never know your name, just as you may never know theirs. This thought does not bring loneliness, but perspective. You are part of something immeasurable, and in that recognition lies a kind of calm. You realize now that mystery itself is a gift. It pulls you outward, away from the small circle of your own life, and places you in a wider field of thought. It asks you to imagine, to feel awe, to embrace humility, and in that humility, you find peace. The silos remain still, the sky remains vast, the questions remain unanswered, and that is enough. Enough to remind you that you are alive, aware, and breathing beneath the same stars that puzzled those before you and will puzzle those after you. And as you let your mind drift between mystery and meaning, you feel sleep rising like a tide, carrying you gently into the same silence that stretches above the plains and beyond the stars. You lie at the edge of waking and dreaming, where thought slows and breath deepens. The journey has carried you from the silent plains above hidden silos to the strange lights that linger in the night sky, to the invisible energy flowing within atoms and bodies, and finally into the stillness of mystery itself. Through it all, you have felt the rhythm of opposites, the heavy silence below, the vast silence above, the certainty of machines, the uncertainty of the cosmos, the clarity of science, the softness of wonder. These opposites do not cancel one another. They hold each other, like night holds day, like inhale holds exhale. You are reminded that to live is to balance between knowledge and unknowing. Science gives you explanations, but it also reveals how much is left unanswered. Perception shows you the world, but it also shows you how much the mind creates. Secrets conceal, yet they also draw attention to what matters most. Even silence, so often feared, carries its own music when you learn how to listen. As you rest, you sense how mystery is not a gap to be closed, but a space to dwell in. It is the place where awe breathes, where imagination stretches, where humility softens the edges of certainty. Mystery is not the absence of meaning, but the opening toward deeper meaning. You breathe slowly, letting your chest rise and fall. With each exhale, questions fade into stillness. With each inhale, wonder remains, a gentle presence you do not need to resolve. You feel yourself part of a greater story, woven of silence and stars, atoms and light, fear and hope. And so you let go. You let the unanswered stay unanswered. The distant lights remain distant. The silence continue to hum. In that letting go, you find rest. In that rest, you drift. The sky stretches on, vast and unbroken. The earth holds steady beneath you. And you, carried by breath and mystery, sink softly into sleep.